Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day today. So, when it comes down to it, I thought, of course, that I would post another video, and this is going to be the Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis fight prediction. I do apologize, of course, for not posting more videos throughout the week. Unfortunately, I've just been a little bit busy with certain things, but hopefully next week I should be able to post a little bit more, and hopefully, I'll be able to put out some more videos. But anyways, of course, within these next 3 weeks, if you're a fight fan, you know that there are three decent pay-per-views, or at least three decent fights that are going to happen. Of course, in boxing, you have that of Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis, which I believe is on the zone pay-per-view, as it says right there, is going to be, I believe, for Regis Prograis' WBC title at the 140-pound weight division. After that, of course, I believe on December 16th, you have that of Colby Covington versus that of Leon Edwards. I don't oftentimes do as many MMA predictions, but I might for that one because that's a great card and a great fight. And then, of course, the week after that, I believe we have Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder on the same exact card. And, I'm not a big live streamer, but I might go live for that particular fight, or for those particular fights, just because there's so many great people on that card. Dimitri Bivol is going to be on that card. AJ Anthony Joshua is going to be on that card. Deontay Wilder is going to be on that card. And they're going to be, in two fights that are going to dictate their career. Two fights that more than likely they're expected to win, but two fights that, they may be a little bit tougher than once imagined. We'll see. We'll have to see about that. But anyways, just to get straight into the topic about Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis, this is a very particularly interesting fight. Now, of course, taking a look at Regis Prograis' last performance against that one Puerto Rican fighter, I believe his name was Zoria, or whatever his name may be, it was a split decision. Personally, I never watched the fight, so I can't tell you what I personally thought about the fight. But Regis Prograis, of course, especially after that performance, he's lost a little bit of esteem, especially with some of the confidence that people have within him in order to beat that of Devin Haney. And of course, Devin Haney, in his last fight, he didn't always have the best moments either against that of Vasily High-Tech Lomachenko. But Lomachenko, of course, has been looked at as one of the better fighters and more skilled fighters within that of boxing for the past several plus years. So, maybe some would be able to give Devin Haney a little bit of a break for that. Either way, this is going to be a very entertaining matchup because Devin Haney, he's going to be looked at as kind of the more polished boxer, the guy that, he's probably going to try to outbox from mid-range or long range, and he's probably going to try to outbox and be more craftier than that of Regis Prograis. And Prograis more than likely is going to have to be the banger in this fight, or that's what more than likely people are going to look at him as. He's going to have to try, and get inside, really hurt Devin Haney. And that's really the big question, really, about this fight is that can Regis Prograis, can he hurt Devin Haney? Can he get on the inside against Devin Haney? Because Haney is more than likely, in my view, going to try to outbox Regis Prograis on the outside. I just don't know why, what else he would really do. Regis Prograis is not a fighter that, unless you have super great athleticism and decent power to hold him back to where you want to be on the inside with him. I've only seen one fighter be successful with that of Regis Prograis on the inside at times, and that was Josh Taylor when I thought that he was at his best. In that last fight, I thought that Josh Taylor kind of, I'm not going to say that he looked shot, but he did not quite look his best, in my view, against Teofimo Lopez. But who knows? That could have just been the opponent. Maybe Josh Taylor just, maybe he did not expect Teofimo Lopez to be that good. I don't really know. But anyways, it's going to be very interesting in this fight. Who do I personally predict in order to win this fight? I do predict Devin the Dream Haney to win this fight. I'm going to predict him to win this probably by either unanimous or split decision. Would I be surprised if it ended up going to Regis Prograis? I wouldn't be surprised. But the thing that I don't really like about Regis Prograis, and the thing is about both of these fighters, is that I don't really think that either of them are defensive masters. And a lot of people would disagree with me on that, especially about Devin Haney. Like a lot of these LDBC and new media channels, especially, they take a look at a young up-and-coming black fighter, and they just already assume that he's going to be the next Floyd Mayweather Jr. And a lot of people don't really understand that Floyd Mayweather Jr., that as a fighter all around, that he is debatably the most skilled fighter of all time. And there's no offense against Devin Haney, but even though he's a decently skilled fighter, he's not anywhere near that level of Floyd Mayweather Jr., especially defensively. When you take a look at Devin Haney in a lot of his fights, whether it be against, Jojo Diaz, Vasily Lomachenko, even George Kambosos, Devin Haney gets hit flush several times throughout those fights. Even at times he's getting hurt and sometimes pushed back in those fights because sometimes Devin Haney has a problem with keeping his hands up or, not having the greatest inside defense. That doesn't mean that he's not a very decently great fighter or a very good fighter, but he does have certain holes within his game. And that's why it's also going to be very interesting because if Regis Prograis does not feel that at Devin Haney's power, and if he just believes that he can walk through Devin Haney's shots, it's going to be very interesting to see how Devin Haney can handle that. Because I don't think that there's any doubt about it whatsoever that Regis Prograis is going to be the one that has the more punching power here. And he is a very good puncher. I want to call him an A-plus level puncher, but he's a guy to where if he does hit you with the left, if he hits you with a good right hook, if he hits you on the inside especially, Regis Prograis could potentially knock you down. He could potentially hurt you. So I have to give Devin Haney a lot of credit for this fight because he's actually doing things that Gervonta Tank Davis claims that he wants to do, or that, that he's going to fight this guy, fight that guy. Devin Haney has actually gotten in the ring with these guys. He actually got in the ring with Vasily Lomachenko. He actually got in the ring with that of Regis Prograis, or he's going to. These are the fights that Gervonta Tank Davis really should be taking, but he hasn't been taking for whatever reason. And that's why I've been a little bit lenient to put Gervonta Tank Davis on my top 10 pound-for-pound list, even though I think that he's more talented than that of Devin Haney, probably, especially as an athlete, but I can't put you above someone like that of a Devin Haney when Haney is actually fighting real level names. So it just is what it is. But when it comes down to it, once again, this is a very particularly interesting fight. And the big question is, of course, is how is Devin Haney's power going to translate to that of 140? And I'm not quite sure. Once again, I don't think that Devin Haney is the weakest puncher that I've ever seen, but I also don't think that he's the strongest puncher that I've ever seen. He's definitely nowhere near the level of a puncher that Gervonta Tank Davis is. And I also don't think that he's the level of puncher that a Regis Prograis is. So once again, it's going to be very interesting because Devin Haney, he's been in some good fights, especially within the past couple of years, like against Kambosos and against Vasily Lomachenko. But I don't think that he's ever truly been in an actual fight where he was potentially really, really, really going to lose that fight, at least in terms of just pure athleticism. And what I mean by that is not saying that I'm taking away anything from Devin Haney, that he still deserves credit for those Kambosos and Vasily Lomachenko wins. But this is, in my view, going to be the biggest fight of his career. Not in terms of Regis Prograis being the most skilled opponent that he's ever fought. I think the most skilled opponent that he's ever fought, of course, was Vasily Lomachenko. But the problem is that when you talk about George Kambosos and Lomachenko, I've already told people about George Kambosos, just in my personal view. I think that Kambosos, although he is a very good fighter and he clearly has some level of talent, I think that he pretty much got his bones by facing a Teofimo Lopez that was not expecting him to be anywhere near as challenging. And on top of that, clearly, in my view, probably was having some outside of the ring issues and was not focused. That, in my personal view, is the reason why George Kambosos, looks so good against that of Teofimo Lopez. Just in my personal view, because Teofimo Lopez was suffering from a lot of problems outside the ring, kind of throughout that time period. And once again, I'm not one to really give excuses, but, especially after I seen Teofimo Lopez after the Josh Taylor performance, in my view, Teofimo Lopez was not really the best version of himself. And I already stated that. I think that he heavily underestimated George Kambosos. I don't think that he was focused. And I think that George's style and also his skill set that it threw Teofimo Lopez off, and especially after he knocked him down, I believe in the first round, Teofimo was really kind of mentally, I don't want to say challenged in that fight, but, he was a little bit, stunned after that, and he never kind of recovered. But the thing is that Devin Haney, of course, he was able to be very dominant in that fight both times against George Kambosos. It was a very impressive performance. And then against Lomachenko, you could argue it, in my view, that it could have went either way, but I don't have a problem with Devin Haney getting the decision, especially with some of the body shots that he was landing and Lomachenko slowing down in certain rounds. But Lomachenko, and I've been also saying this for years, he's pretty much a natural 130-pound fighter. Regis Prograis is going to be the same girth. He's going to be around the same size as that of Devin Haney. Now, he's not necessarily going to be as lengthy as what Devin Haney is. Devin Haney, I believe, will have a 4-inch reach advantage over Regis Prograis, but he's going to feel his size. He's going to feel his power. Now, will Devin Haney be able to handle that? I predict and I assume that more than likely he'll be able to handle it. But if he would not be able to, or if he got knocked down a couple times, or if he ended up losing this fight, I wouldn't be shell shocked. Once again, I'm just very interested to see, who ends up winning this fight and who's able to get off on what. It's just going to be very interesting. But the reason why I predict Devin Haney to win this fight, I just think that he's going to be the sharper fighter. I think that, if potentially you were talking about a fighter that was more motivated or felt that they had more on the line in this fight, I think that it would be Devin Haney just because he sees a lot of potential for himself. Of course, Regis Prograis, he should also see a lot on the line for himself in this fight because if he were to lose this fight, it would be the second loss of his career. And basically what that would mean is that every A-grade fighter that you fought, you lost against. So once again, Regis Prograis, he has to be very careful here. He has to try and win this fight by all means. And if he does win this fight, of course, that pretty much uplifts his career. Then he can get the fight against Teofimo Lopez. He can get the fight overall against that of Josh Taylor in the rematch. Whatever he wants to do, it would open a lot of opportunities. That also being said, I believe that if it is a very close fight, then more than likely Devin Haney is going to get the decision because why wouldn't they want that? He's a 25-year-old fighter, and on top of that, they know that they can make very big fights with Devin Haney and Gervonta Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson, and Teofimo Lopez if you're trying to make that fight at 140. Say Devin's able to capture one or two belts and Teofimo is able to capture one or two belts. I think that pretty much is the dream fight that they want to make there. So once again, if we're talking about a very close fight, I believe Devin Haney more than likely will get the edge on the scorecard. So Regis Prograis, if he really wants to win this fight, he's going to have to be dominant at the very least to clear 8 rounds to 4. Do I personally see that happening? I'm not quite sure if I do. And the reason why I say that is because Regis Prograis, even though he's fast and he's athletic and he's powerful, once again, as I already stated, I don't see either of these fighters as defensive wizards or defensive masters, especially Regis Prograis. At least Devin Haney, like he'll block a certain amount of the punches, or he'll certainly try, kind of like that pseudo Floyd Mayweather Jr. style. Regis Prograis, I very rarely see him keep his hands up unless he's on the inside. And that's why, he's vulnerable to right hands. He's vulnerable to a jab. And Devin Haney has one of the best 1-2 combinations in the whole boxing game right now. So, once again, I'm predicting Devin Haney to win this fight. I'm going to predict that it's going to be around 8 rounds to 4. But I wouldn't be surprised if the fight was really close. I wouldn't be surprised if Regis Prograis ended up beating Devin Haney. I think that it's about a 60-40 fight. But I think that it's a fight that I would personally favor Devin Haney in. And we also have to talk about the question that, when it comes down to it, if Devin Haney does end up winning this fight, especially dominantly, could he potentially be a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter on my pound-for-pound list? Because he already has beat Kambosos, Vasily Lomachenko, and if he beats Regis Prograis, someone that is not within my top 10 pound-for-pound, but maybe my top 30 or something like that, somewhere around there, could it be that he's top 5 pound-for-pound? We'll see. I'm not quite sure because once again, my top 5 pound-for-pound is pretty much locked with these 5 fighters, with Crawford, Canelo, Fury, Usyk, and Inoue. It's pretty hard to surpass those fighters because I think that those fighters are the creme de la creme. But of course, with Fury's most recent performance against Francis Ngannou, one could maybe say that he should be out of my top 5 pound-for-pound list. I'm not quite sure if I would say that, but, it's kind of up to you. Even Devin Haney, I believe, in an interview that I forgot to release, he actually had Tyson Fury within his top 3 pound-for-pound. And he also had Canelo at number 1, I believe, and Crawford at number 2, and Fury at number 3. And I can't necessarily disagree with that order. It's just right now I would probably have Crawford at the number 1 spot just because of the dominant win over that of Errol Spence Jr. But if you had Canelo there, no problem with it whatsoever. But anyways, that's pretty much my fight prediction for this fight. What do I think that the strengths are of both fighters? I think Regis Prograis, he can be slippery in there. He's definitely a guy that is a good counter puncher, especially within those short ranges, and he can get in there pretty quickly. But the question is, once again, is that will Devin Haney really allow that? Devin Haney, he is a guy that, he is going to use his feet to the best of his ability. He doesn't always have as elite a footwork as, some of the fighters that had that style before him, like a Floyd Mayweather Jr., but he, uses it well enough to kind of get in and outside of range. He's a good counter puncher, especially with the good 1-2, well, especially with the 1-2. I wouldn't say that he's an elite counter puncher, but he's very good with that 1-2. He definitely has one of the best 1-2 combinations. He definitely has a very great jab and a very great right hand. And if there is, in my view, potentially a kryptonite for Regis Prograis, it would be the good 1-2 because he just never keeps his hands up. So once again, it's going to be very interesting. But if Regis Prograis can get inside very quickly, which at times he does, if he can get around the 1-2, then it's going to be interesting to see how Devin Haney handles that. If he can get around the good 1-2 with Devin Haney, it will be interesting because then Devin Haney will have to try to come up with another answer while against a guy that is going to be similar in size and a guy that can really potentially hurt him. So once again, it's going to be very interesting to see that happen. But I need to see Regis Prograis get around that good 1-2. I need to see him, have better defense. And I don't think that he's a great defensive fighter. I've never seen him as a great defensive fighter. He can make you miss. He can slip. He knows the art of counterpunching. And maybe that'll be enough to win this fight. But against Devin Haney, who I think is, has a great motivation to win this fight and is coming off of a good streak over George Kambosos and Vasily Lomachenko. And on top of that, with him probably polishing his skills a little bit every time the fight goes along, I'm predicting Devin Haney to win this fight, probably by unanimous decision. Either 7 rounds to 5 or 8 rounds to 4. Probably 8 rounds to 4, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, that's pretty much about it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see how this fight goes.